Hello, folks. This is Richard Fish once again, offering another potential political talking point for the 2020 election. The next one I'm going to have is nationalizing the farm industry. Now, I believe there is a food is essential for making this country run. Let's just be frank about that. Having fresh, accessible food in the country should be a given. The fact that isn't is a problem. The fact that it's expensive to buy fresh food more than it is the factory, stuff, or the stuff that's, basically is food is a right. Access to food should be a right, not a privilege. Cheap food needs to exist and it needs to be fresh. The fresh food should be the cheap alternative, while the frozen dinner crap should be the expensive alternative. And the issue is that the farms aren't just having trouble, making money. It's the fact that there's investors, very powerful investors, like the freaking president, the vice president of the United States, and his little corporations he's associated with, and then there's foreign investors who are just buying up our farmland, and then just not lowering prices, or just using the farmland for other stuff like data centers. Like, why would you replace food with data centers? Data centers take up more energy, more water, and we can't eat energy. You know what that eats energy? AI. AI aren't people. AI shouldn't take precedent over us as a human being. So we need, as a political talking point for the 2028 election, we need to fight back against making sure we get fresh food. And quite frankly, if we have to, get in bed with the Maha movement, we might have to, because we've been trying to make food healthy ever since the Obama administration. Michelle Obama tried, and look what happened to her. They went scorched earth with her, saying that it's, un-American to try to make our food healthier. And now the Trump administration, they got in bed with people who want to do that thing, and lo and behold, look what happened. The Maha movement is being thrown off to the side because, one, the vaccine position they have is ridiculous. Two, that's part of the problem, which I did not address that in public education. Side note on that, on public education, yes, vaccines are mandatory for public schools. Yes, if you have to go to public schools, we will give you mandatory vaccines. Like, you're in public school, you're with other children, vaccines are necessary. If you don't like the vaccines, there's homeschool and private school. Now, segue back into the Maha movement. They want to make America healthy again. That is a logical decision to have in this day and age. But the fact they're being sidelined by the Trump administration tells you that, for Trump, there's no financial incentive to make America healthy again. Keeping us pretty much fat and stupid is what they want. And they love it. The Trump loves that. Trump loves the fact that people are fat and stupid. So if you really want healthy, smart people, you have to just tell the corporations to eat shit and bug off. We have to start forcing corporations to either getting out the deadly chemicals or go take their business elsewhere, because Europe, it has control over their food. They ban so many dyes and whatnot. They make their food fresh, and it's kind of, won't lie, it's actually kind of funny to hear people actually kind of complain about fresh food in Europe, but fresh food tastes better. So it's better for you and it's healthier for you. So for those in the Maha movement, you need to just pivot then to the Democrats, because it's pretty clear that the Democrats are willing to at least help you out. They didn't lie to you, not going to lie to you and say that, oh, we're not going to make Americans healthy. No, they will work with you. I would work with you guys to make America healthy, because we should have the same standards as Europe. Europeans aren't fat and stupid. That's a big thing you think about it. You don't see a lot of fat, stupid Europeans, now do you? No. Because their countries actually control the corporations, what chemicals in their food. We shouldn't be eating chemicals. No one should. We've got plastic. We're eating microplastics. That's a big reason why there's diseases and whatnot, have been skyrocketing. Birth defects. It's like microplastics and chemicals. You want that out? Okay, you actually have to hold the corporations to task about making sure that happens. But the fact that the Trump administration isn't doing it means there's no financial value in it. And that's the thing that Democrats need to understand, that too, that you have to do certain policies regardless of the financial consequences. Yes, there is no money to be, very little money to be made in making America healthy again. Because guess what? The corporations who have all this chemical food, they gain billions of dollars, possibly trillions of dollars each year, and they then funnel that into the government, to pay them off and make sure you can't do this and that to the chemicals, out of their food. Then let's ignore the corporations. We need to actually fight back against the corporations, and that's what the Maha movement tried to do. And guess what? They have failed miserably because they were convenient tools. It's just matter of convenience. Their movement was a good sell to Americans, and now Trump doesn't want to do it because there's no financial money. The corporations are telling him pretty much there's no money to be made in making Americans healthy again. So, to combat that, the Democrats need to say either we need to fight back our corporations or we need to start nationalizing the farm industry, because we need to control the food. Food and water need to be controlled and make sure we have clean water and clean food. I don't think, and yet, unfortunately, there's no financial incentive for that. It's probably going to be a money pit for a few years, I would assume. It probably will be, yeah. We will probably lose more money making, the food chemically safer and whatnot for a while than actually make money. And that's something that we have to suck up and deal with. Yes, not everything that helps Americans will be a financial incentives. Like, you're not going to make billions of dollars by making food healthy. No, we're probably going to be losing money before we start making money. And that's something we, as a country, have to deal with. We have to deal with the fact that we will be losing money to make our food and water safer. And if we had to nationalize the farm industry to make sure our food, and that means, booting out investors, because there shouldn't be investors in food. That's like the stupidest thing to hear. Technology, I get it. I understand. Emerging technology, I understand investors making sure, they're fat and happy, and, entertainment, understand that. Food, no, there should be no investors in food. They should not be making, selling more food and just putting all this chemical crap in it just so that investors can make $1 more than next year on their investments. There should be no such thing as investing in the food industry. It should be their simple food industry. Its simple purpose is to make food for Americans, and the Americans have that right to healthy food and clean water. And that needs to be a talking point for the next election, making sure we have clean food and clean water. And we have to nationalize the food industry to do so, have the government control all the farms and whatnot, so be it. Because corporations, it's pretty clear that they're not going to remove the chemicals without a fight. Like, I know we've been, giving them fines and whatnot, but the fines are pathetic. They're like $1,000 if they find something slightly wrong. They won't even shut down the factory or anything unless it's like a horrible disease or something like that. We need to actually start putting pressure on the corporations, and that includes $1 million fines and federal prison time for their CEOs and presidents. We need to start doing that. We need to start putting the CEOs and presidents in federal prison to make sure our food are healthy again. It needs to be done. They're the ones responsible for our food. If they don't want to, put them in jail, take their farmland, and then just change the food, make sure it's healthy, clean for us. No chemicals, no dyes, whatever's unhealthy for Americans, change it. If it needs to be done, do it. This whole idea that we need to negotiate with corporations is ridiculous. Corporations shouldn't be running America. The government runs America, and the corporations, it is a privilege for a corporation to run in America, not a right. And the Democrats need to focus on that in the 2020 election. The corporations, I know, they've been fat and happy and believing, they have every single president in any of their party, by their balls, saying, oh yeah, we own you because we give you money. The next president in 2028 needs to tell them to, eat shit. I run the government, you do as I say, or you don't do business in America. That needs to be a talking point, and that's how we need to talk to corporations from now. This whole idea that we need to negotiate, no. Let's be brutally honest. The government's the one with the army. We're the one with the guns. We should use that leverage against corporations. That, if you don't want to negotiate, you don't want to give us safer food, you don't get to operate in America. We get to take all your land, and you can go fuck off somewhere else. And take your nasty chemical-ridden food to somewhere else. I'm sure there's other countries that are more willing to take your, chemical-laced bullcrap. So that needs to be a talking point. There needs to be an actual forceful discussion when it comes to the food industry right now, because it's pretty clear that, you know, we're being poisoned by our own food, and we need to fight to have clean food and clean water, and that needs to be a talking point. Yes, there is very little financial incentive to do it. Do it anyways, because that's what people want. People want clean food and clean water. So that needs to be a talking point in the next election. Nationalizing food industry and giving Americans clean food and clean water. Thank you.